What's going on, y'all? It's Derek J407, aka Best Heel Ever, and it's come to this time. The time has come for us to talk about the season finale of Lucha Underground Season 2, and what a great season it's been. I don't know if it was better than last season or not because, quite frankly, I loved season 1 of Lucha Underground, but I did not watch every single episode of Lucha Underground last season. Now, I didn't watch every single episode this season either, but the 20 plus episodes this season, I think I can count on one hand how many episodes that I missed this season compared to last, which were a little more than a handful. But from what I did see, I loved it. It was awesome. Some of my favorite matches of last year were on Lucha Underground. Some of my favorite matches of this year were on Lucha Underground. One of those matches happened to take place on this show. I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, it was great. We didn't know if there would be a season 2 after the season finale last year. There was a lot of debate up in the air. El Rey Network wanted to bring it back, but there's a lot of money that has to go into Lucha Underground, and the people who run Lucha Underground, Krista Joseph and all those kinds of people, they didn't want to, run on the cheap. They could have came back, but it would have been, a lower budget, and they wanted the money. I forgot how they got it, but they got the money to do it, and they were able to film it. They brought it back in January, and since January, we have been spoiled with the greatness that is Lucha Underground. Some weeks aren't that great, some weeks go by and, it's a little slower, but they take their time, and they build, and this was, on this show, this is the final night of Ultima Lucha, night 3, and it did its job, and it ended well. Not everything I wanted answered got answered, but most things did, and left you on a pretty good cliffhanger for next season, which we do know is going to happen. It's already been filmed. Some stuff has been spoiled for a lot of people, but I've been able to avoid a lot. The only things that have been spoiled for me is like injuries and how some guys, their story arcs have wrapped up. Don't know how, but I just know some of them aren't coming back. But Lucha Underground has been really great. I'm gonna miss it every Wednesday night, and I didn't even watch it every single Wednesday night. Sometimes I would have to watch it on Friday nights. Sometimes it'd be Saturday nights, but I always manage to watch it, and I'm gonna miss it. Good thing we still have NXT and the Cruiserweight Classic. I might have to start reviewing that, but yeah, so let's get into this episode here. The season finale, Ultima Lucha Part 3. So the show kicked off showing Pentagon Jr. and his master, Vampiro. Of course, putting him through one final test. Pentagon Jr. had to fight himself, but a bunch of versions of himself. So he beat them all. The final one was Vampiro, dressed as Pentagon, and he had to defeat him. And he did, and then Vampiro told him that Pentagon Jr. is no more, but you will forever be, you are, from now on, will be Pentagon Dark. So, that was pretty cool. The first match of the night was the Trios Championship match. The Worldwide Underground, Johnny Mundo, PJ Black, and Jack Evans, defending against Aerostar, Drago, and Phoenix. You got these 6 guys in the ring. You're about to get a damn good match, and that's exactly what we got here. It was really good, really fast-paced action. It broke down something fierce towards the end. Just all kinds of craziness. The referee got knocked out. Mundo was being double-teamed by, I think it was Phoenix and Drago, and or Phoenix and Aerostar. I forgot what 2 combination it was, but they were beating up Johnny Mundo, and then eventually he was about to get pinned. Then the referee got back in, but then Jack Evans pulled him out or something like that, and so then the 3 heels proceeded to beat the hell at a poor Phoenix. Phoenix was getting his ass kicked. At one point, they tried to pin. I think it was like they all got their belts, and they hit him in the head with it at the same time. He kicked. Phoenix kicked out. The referee came back in, did the count, but Phoenix kicked out. And then I think it was Jack Evans who kicked the ref in the face. So they kept beating him down more and more. His partners are gone. Phoenix is done for. This is just chaos. And then out of nowhere, on crutches, comes Angelico. Completely forgot about Angelico. He comes out there. He has his crutch because Mundo is up in the air. Well, not up in the air, but he's like on the top turnbuckle about to do something to Phoenix. And Angelico hits him with his crutch. So as you recall, months ago, when the original trio of Angelico, Son of Havoc, and Ivelisse, they were supposed to defend the trios titles at the end of that trios tournament, but Angelico was mysteriously taken out and could not perform, and we haven't seen him since. So here, they alluded to the fact that Johnny Mundo clearly has something to do with it. Either that or Angelico just really does not like Johnny Mundo, which, either one of them is plausible, but I'm pretty sure it's the former. Drago and Aerostar came back in. They beat down Evans and PJ Black, and Phoenix was able to hit the the Phoenix Star or something like that. His move. He beat Johnny Mundo, and the three masked luchadors, they won the trios titles. So we once again have baby faces holding the trios championships, which is great. And now this opens up the door to a Johnny Mundo Angelico feud, which sounds amazing. And Taya is still with Johnny Mundo, so maybe Ivelisse can team back up with Angelico, but I think maybe Ivelisse might move on to something different, so we'll get to that later on. But an Angelico Johnny Mundo feud for next season sounds fucking incredible, man. I was about to say awesome and incredible. It's all that kind of stuff. It's everything that you could possibly think of, so I'm going to look forward to that very much. Then we had El Dragon Azteca Jr. versus Black Lotus. It's the first time we've seen Black Lotus compete in the ring. This whole thing about her dad and, her triad and all that kind of stuff. And El Dragon Azteca Jr. Hell, a year ago at Ultima Lucha, Black Lotus killed the former El Dragon Azteca. But of course, Dragon Azteca Jr. thinks it was Matanza who killed his father, and Black Lotus formerly believed that it was Matanza who killed her parents, or I think it was just her dad. But then Dario told her that it was actually Dragon Azteca who did it, and then she killed him, and she's been Dario's bodyguard ever since. And now this whole thing comes to a head. Dario, tried to play with Black Lotus, reassuring that it was Dragon Azteca who killed your dad. He even told Dragon Azteca Jr. that it was Black Lotus who killed his dad, which is true. So put these two against one another. Black Lotus was very impressive. This is the first time we've seen her in a match. I don't know her name outside of Lucha Underground, but I'm sure she wrestles elsewhere. She's really good. And of course, El Dragon Azteca Jr. is really good. So they were having a pretty good match. It didn't last too long because out of nowhere comes Pentagon Jr. in new gear. Vampiro, he started to get up. He got really interested. Vampiro at this point he took a very dark turn. He was much darker as a commentator, talking about Pentagon Jr. And I swear that wasn't on purpose, because Pentagon Jr., he got the microphone and he professed that he is no longer Pentagon Jr. Pentagon Jr. is dead. He is now Pentagon Dark. So he came out with the dark gear, and he's much more brutal and sadistic and much more monster-like to take on the monster Matanza. And that was the next match for the Lucha Underground Championship. Pentagon Dark taking on the Monster Matanza. And you would think, Pentagon Jr., he was this badass. He goes up against the Monster. He's the first person to go up against the Monster. He has his back broken. He's destroyed. You think, okay, if you know Batman, if you want to show your nerd and you know Batman, Bane breaks his back and he rises. I'm talking about the comics, not the movie, the extremely underwhelming movie, Dark Knight Rises. I'm talking about the comics when he gets his back broken. He rises back up and he takes out Bane. Because in the movie it was Catwoman, because Bane wasn't the main villain. It was Talia al Ghul. And oh my gosh, my nerd is showing right now. So what? You know what? So the fuck what? I'm not ashamed of it. But anyway, you would okay. Pentagon, he has his back broken. His master has to rebuild him back up, albeit some very brutal ways, but he has to build him back up. He returns, he earns the title shot, he takes a much darker turn, and that leads to him winning the championship. That's, in WWE land, that's probably the happy story, but Lucha Underground, that didn't really happen here. But we get the match, and Pentagon is beating the hell out of Matanza throughout the whole thing. He's just whipping his ass, super kicks and all that kind of stuff. Dario enforced that there must be a winner, so technically there's no disqualifications. So using chairs and all kinds of weapons. Vampiro was just gushing all over Pentagon Dark. He kept correcting Matt Stryker, who would call him Pentagon Jr. Every now and again. He would slip and call him that, and it's like, that's not his name. It's Pentagon Dark. Pentagon Jr. is dead. So Pentagon's beating his ass. Dario is out there. He's trying to root on his baby brother to make it back to his feet and to, come back on him. It gets to a point where Vampiro pulls out a barbed wire baseball bat from underneath the table. You would think Matt Stryker might notice that right there under the table, Vampiro was holding a barbed wire baseball bat, but apparently he never noticed. So, okay. But Vampiro, he pulls it out. He hands it to Pentagon, and Pentagon is about to hit Matanza with it until Dario Cueto, comes in. He stops him. Pentagon's going to try to break his arm, but then Matanza gets the barbed wire bat and hits Pentagon with it. And then he hits his power slam move, and he picks up the victory. Shocked the hell out of me. It really did. And especially, but I mean, I was like, you see the match and you see how badly Matanza's getting his ass kicked. It's like, yeah, I think you probably should have saw that coming. But it's great. Matanza was getting his ass kicked for like 80% of this match, and he just hits him in the back with the barbed wire bat once, hits him with the power slam, and gets the victory. It's like, hey, I mean, in the real world, you get hit with a barbed wire wrapped baseball bat, you about to get your ass kicked. Now, I know Lucha Underground isn't exactly in the realm of reality when you got guys flying to space and all that kind of shit, but still. After the match, Vampiro got in the ring. He tried to consult with his student, but Pentagon Dark just pushed him away and left. So dissension between the student and the master, but that was not the last we would see of Pentagon on this night. Up next, we got Taya taking on Ivelisse to see who the baddest bitch in Lucha Underground is. They had a pretty good match. It made their way into the crowd at one point, fighting all over the place. They had a really good match. Ivelisse was about to win, but then the lights go out and they come back on, and it's Catrina in the ring, but a much different looking Catrina. She's not wearing her usual outfit or attire. It's more wrestling attire. So oh my gosh, if she couldn't get any sexier, she did on this show. Holy shit. Oh my lord, she looked great. But yeah, so she had seemingly what appears to be wrestling gear. She attacked Ivelisse, and then that led to Taya hitting her Northern Lights suplex and then hit her with the Berserker boots and got the victory. So Taya beat Ivelisse thanks to the help of Catrina. I think she said something like death comes for everyone or something like that. She called her a bitch, I know that. You heard that part, but she said something about death. And she gave her the lick of death. So I assume this will be the feud. Finally, we're going to see Catrina wrestle. We're going to see the devil wrestle. And she's going to wrestle Ivelisse. So, they've been building up to that since the end of last season. And they had subtle hints of it all season long. So it's good to see that it's finally going to happen at some point next season. I'm glad to see Catrina's finally going to wrestle. That's what I'm looking forward to. So that's going to be cool. And then we get to the main event. It is Prince Puma versus Rey Mysterio. The Prince versus El Rey. A dream match, as Lucha Underground was hyping it up to be. This was the main event, and it was a damn good main event. Prince Puma had a darker attire on, so I thought at some point he's going heel. But there was no heel in this match, no babyface, something like that. It was just two luchadors wrestling, and they put on a great match. I mean, Rey Mysterio versus Ricochet sounds like a damn good match. That's exactly what we got here. Probably my favorite match of the week that I've seen so far. I have not watched this week's episode of the Cruiserweight Classic yet, but I'm sure it was great. And, the two matches with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose on Raw and SmackDown were both great, but in the Raw match, probably more so. But this was probably my favorite match of the week so far between Mysterio and Prince Puma, and one of my favorite matches of the year so far. So when I have my list and I want Lucha Underground to be represented on that list, this match is a no-brainer. It will definitely be on there. They had a damn good match, man. Puma got hit. He got DDT'd a lot in this match. And, the way his head would just plant onto the mat and he would do, a flip over and all that kind of stuff, it was brutal. But at one point, Puma even hit Rey Mysterio with the 619, which was cool. And he blocked Rey's 619s a lot. And it looked like Puma was going to get the victory, but then Rey gave him another tornado DDT and spiked his head into the mat, and he flipped up, and he got into the ropes. Rey hit him with the 619, and then he dropped the dime on him, and Rey picks up the victory. After the match, they hugged, shook hands. Puma raised Rey's arm up, and then Rey left the ring to Puma. He told him, "These are your people, so bask in your glory." And they showered him with cheers, the people of Boyle Heights did. And that was it. So that was the end of the show. That was the end of Ultima Lucha. We go back to Matt Stryker and Vampiro on commentary. They're talking about, they're thanking the fans and all that kind of stuff. So you're just waiting for something to happen. And we lead to, out from the crowd comes Pentagon Dark, who was carrying that barbed wire bat. He hit Vampiro with it, and then he super kicked Matt Stryker, and then he proceeded to beat the shit out of Vampiro. He was rubbing it up against his face. Took no time for him to bleed. He kept super kicking him and kicking him all in the chest and the gut and all that kind of stuff. He eventually got him in the ring, and he was beating his ass in there too. Vampiro was just a bloody mess. Pentagon was talking about how, I'm the master now. So, okay. Cero Miedo. But yeah, he left Vampiro just a bloody mess. So, are we getting another match between these two next season? I mean, last year they put on a spectacle. it was brutal. I don't know if I want to see that again. That was some brutal shit last year. In Pentagon, he like when he was beating him up too, he would like wipe the blood off his head and he would lick it. He did it like 3 times. I'm sorry, I can't get into that. I can't get into it. I hate it when I see him like in matches in Lucha Underground or wherever, guys like, they would bust somebody open and they would like bite their head or something. They would bite the wound or something like that. Or when they lick the blood. Now, if you want to be, sick and sadistic or something like that, and like wipe the blood on your chest or something like that. I remember Brock Lesnar used to do that back in the day. There was the time where he just killed Zach Gowen, and he like wiped his blood on his chest and all that kind of shit. That's sick, but it's not as disgusting as somebody taking somebody else's blood and licking it, or biting their wound or something. I just can't get into that. But yeah, so they left the temple with all that, Vampiro being dead. And speaking of leaving the temple, that led us to a shot of Dario Cueto being taken away by the police. So they caught him. They got him. They got Dario. He got arrested. They showed, like, they kept focusing on Dario Cueto. The camera did. It was, like, focused on him and him getting escorted into the truck, him sitting in the truck, and him sitting down with his head down. And he slowly brought it up. You could see the lights flashing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure Dario will be back. They flashed the to be continues sign after that, and they go off the air. That is the end of season 2 of Lucha Underground. It was it was a damn good show. It's probably my favorite show of the week. That had my favorite match of the week and one of my favorite matches of the year so far. So of course I enjoyed it, and a damn good cliffhanger. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't revisit the whole thing with Lorenzo Lamas, Councilman Delgado, and his employer, who he called his lord, my lord. We didn't really get any of that. And Dario last week, he was on the phone calling somebody, telling them it's time. I'm sure all that stuff will be answered next season. I just kind of wanted a little bit of a teaser. I thought, a good way to probably end it would be just to get a shot of whoever the employer is and leave us on that cliffhanger. But Dario getting arrested, that was built up throughout the season when they introduced the police and all that kind of stuff. So it paid off. We got that payoff, but the other stuff, you want more, and I didn't get it, so I'm kind of disappointed. But I enjoyed it. I'm gonna miss Lucha Underground. I loved this season, and I'm looking forward to next season, which is already taped, so we know what's happening. So season 3 can't get here soon enough. So thank you, El Rey, and I will see you next season.